Hi everyone, this is Balázs from RacingBrick. The August 2026 LEGO Technic sets have finally arrived. As usual, they showed up a little later than I'd hoped, but at least they are finally here. I decided to start with the one that was revealed recently, the Ducati Desmo450 MX factory motorcycle. The other sets are waiting on the shelf, so let me know in the comments which one you'd like to see me review next. This is a 10 plus set, and unlike the recent Technic cars, the box art is fairly static since the bike is displayed on its stand. The back of the box shows the model from another angle, together with a few of the features, although interestingly there's no photo of the real motorcycle this time. Let's open the box. The set has 457 pieces, the price is €50 or dollars, and it will be available from the 1st of August. We get 4 numbered bags, 2 tires and 2 rims, the manual and the sticker sheet. The manual doesn't include any extra information about the real bike either, so after a quick look at the inventory, let's start building. The build begins with the engine, and here's our first interesting recolored element, the transparent studless single-cylinder engine block. The real Ducati obviously doesn't have a transparent engine, but using a clear element lets you take a look at the mechanism. The red trigger pedals introduced with the Smart Play sets make another appearance here in a new color, and a few system elements add some detail to the engine assembly. Next comes the new compact 6-module long shock absorber with a yellow spring. We first got this shorter design in the Koenigsegg with a black spring, and here it sits next to the older 6.5 module long hard shock absorber from Dom's newest charger. I don't have any scientific way to compare spring rates, but by feel they seem very similar. The yellow and black versions of the new ones certainly feel identical. These links have previously appeared as A-pillars in multiple Technic cars, so it's nice to see them used here as structural elements. This is what I enjoy in motorcycle builds, all those funky angles. Next we build the display stand, and it gets the very first sticker of the set. Hopefully this whole thing will become more stable going forward. The exhaust comes next, and those flexible tubes take a bit of effort to push fully onto the pins and axles. Here's another part returning from the Koenigsegg, the white 14-tooth gear. We need 43 gold chain links, apparently there's one spare. This small black rubber piece is interesting. As far as I can tell, its only purpose is hiding the yellow axle underneath. Now we are building the swing arm and adding the rear wheel. The tire appears to be identical to the one introduced on the 2017 BMW motorcycle, although it now carries a new element ID since it hasn't been used for several years. The last appearance was in 2019 in a set I made a video about back then. One thing that's becoming a little frustrating during the build is the stand. Until the model is fully assembled, it doesn't really hold the bike securely. Here's the familiar 11-module long shock absorber, now with yet another color combination. The previous Ducati used a pearl gold body with a light bluish grey top, the Kawasaki had a light bluish grey body with a black top, the Batcycle was entirely black, and now we have a pearl gold combined with black. Here's a recolored piece from the Botanicals team, with a rather tricky System Technic connection and a Hero factory part on top. These assemblies form the front mudguard, and a few stickered system elements finish off this section. One thing I definitely didn't expect was finding this printed B tile in the set. I tried to look up whether there's an explanation, but the best theory was a reference to the distinctive buzzing sound of the real engine. If you know the actual reason, let me know in the comments. The next section adds plenty of small panel fairings. Mounting a few body panels, some of them are held at unusual angles. Here's one place where I would actually recommend changing the build order slightly. This piece is only attached with a single pin, yet LEGO asks you to connect another assembly using 2 pins. The result is that everything flexes and becomes unnecessarily difficult to assemble. It's much easier to connect these 2 assemblies first and then attach the whole thing afterwards. The last items are the handlebars, and we are done. So here is the finished Ducati. Fortunately, the stability improves significantly once everything is assembled. The bike now sits much more securely on its stand. I'm certainly not a motorcycle expert, so I will leave the styling to those of you who know Ducati's lineup better. Looking at photos of the real bike though, the biggest issue I notice is the front geometry. The angle of the forks and the front mudguard doesn't really match the real motorcycle, and once you compress the suspension, the proportions look even funnier. Well, the thing is, you cannot even compress the front suspension without holding the front wheel in place. Apart from that, there aren't many functions to explore. The steering works, the rear wheel drives the single-cylinder engine through the chain, and that's essentially it. According to the box, the removable body panels are also considered one of the play features. They do come off quite easily, although as I showed during the build, removing and reinstalling this assembly as a single unit is actually much more convenient. Now here is the build alongside a few similarly sized Technic motorcycles from recent years. All of those models offered noticeably higher part counts. The previous Ducati and the Kawasaki also carried a higher price tag, but they included gearboxes as well. Looking purely at value, the Batcycle still stands out. 3 years ago it offered 641 pieces for the same $50 price, although it was clearly aimed at a slightly different audience. That raises an interesting question though, who exactly is this set for? The recommended age is 10 plus, so it's clearly targeted more at younger builders than adult motorcycle enthusiasts. At that age, I suspect many kids simply want a cool dirt bike, regardless of whether it's specifically a Ducati. LEGO actually explored a very similar concept back in 2013 with the 42007 motocross bike. That model had even fewer parts and adjusted for inflation would actually cost slightly more today. So, surprisingly, the Ducati license itself doesn't seem to have pushed the price up significantly. At the same time, using a real license inevitably invites comparisons with the real motorcycle. People naturally start looking at details like the fork angle, the bulky swing arm, or the different wheels. If this had simply been a generic motocross bike, many of those compromises would have been much easier to accept. As for the price, early pre-order discounts already bring it down to around €37 in some regions. At that level, I actually think it becomes a fairly good entry-level Technic set. The build is enjoyable, there are some clever techniques, and it is an affordable source for some new elements. And for the sake of fairness, the front suspension isn't really any easier to compress on the previous Technic motorcycles either, unless you hold the front wheel, so this isn't a problem unique to this model. So folks, let me know what you think about this one. How do you feel about the build, the functions, and the choice of making it a licensed Ducati rather than a generic motocross bike? Let's talk about it in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe with notifications as more exciting LEGO videos are coming soon. See you next time, bye bye.